Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to this special session to talk about the Manager's Resource Plan. In accordance with the Virginia Beach Code 2-21, Virginia Code 15.2-1413, and the city's Continuity of Government Ordinance adopted on March 2nd, 2021, and Chapter 1289 of the 2020 Acts of Assembly as amended, and by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Virginia Beach, I hereby call for a special session by electronic communication means of the City of Virginia Beach Council on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 6 p.m. This special session by electronic communication means will be held virtually with City Council members participating via video audio conference. The purpose of this special session is for the City Council to conduct a public hearing to obtain public input regarding the fiscal 2021 and 22 resource management plan, specifically operating budget and capital improvement program, increases to fees, short-term rental permit, small wireless facilities administrative review, and small wireless facilities standard review. Also, authorization of $68,652,307 in general obligation bonds, and also authorizations of $9,993,368 in water and sewer utility revenue bonds, and authorization of $50,545,315 in stormwater utility bonds. If you wish to make comments during the meeting, please follow the two-step process below. Register for WebEx at http://vbgov.webex.com or register at City Clerk's office by calling 757-385-4303 prior to 5 p.m. on the 21st of April 2021. The special session will be broadcast on cable TV and www.vbgov.com and Facebook Live. Citizens are encouraged to submit their comments to the City Council prior to the special session by email at citycouncil@vbgov.com. Sincerely, Bobby Dyer. Okay, at this point, we ask the clerk to read the roll call of City Council.
Thank you. Councilmember Abbott.
Present.
Councilmember Berlucci advised he would be about 30 minutes late. Councilmember Henley.
Present.
Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Councilmember Moss.
Present.
Councilmember Rouse.
Present.
Councilmember Tower.
Present.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Wooten.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wood.
Present.
Mayor Dyer.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, Madam Clerk, could you read some of the rules on how we're going to do things?
Thanks. Speakers participating via WebEx, please mute any additional devices you have in the room to avoid any unnecessary background noise and/or the possibility of echoing. It is important that once recognized, please wait 2 to 3 seconds to begin to ensure council hears your complete comments. Please begin your comments by identifying yourself. Also, please do not ask, "Can you hear me?" as only one feed is open at a time to minimize the echo, and as such, you will be unable to hear a response. Speakers will be recognized in the order which they were registered. Please note, if speakers do not respond or if a technical issue occurs which renders the comments unintelligible, I will move on to the next registered speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, sir. Sorry. The first speaker is Sonia Robinson. I just have to call her. So we do not see her on WebEx, Mayor, so if it's fine with you, I can come back and
Yeah,
at the
that
end
would
of
be
this
great.
and check again.
Yep.
Lisa Varga, Ms. Varga, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, thank you.
Honorable Mayor and members of City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Lisa Varga, and I've been a resident of Virginia Beach since 2010, which I realize still makes me brand new here. I am a member of the board of the Virginia Beach Public Library, as well as the executive director of the Virginia Library Association, which represents about 4,600 public and academic librarians and library staff in the Commonwealth. I also do a lot of advocacy work at the state and national levels to ensure funding for libraries in all of our communities. And after the year we've had, Virginia Beach Public Library has a lot to be grateful for this budget season. Typically, when I tell people I'm a librarian, their first reaction is to declare that I must be an avid reader. Yes, I am a reader, but that's not necessarily my favorite thing about libraries. Libraries are about lifelong learning for all residents of a community. They are about information and access and exploring new concepts or revisiting old favorites. One of the things I've heard throughout my career is from caregivers who say, when I take the kids to the library, I can say yes. You want more books? Yes, take as many as you want. Movies, video games, let's take them home with us and fill up the bag. I can't say yes at every store, but I can say yes at the library. For years, the library has offered Wi-Fi access, meeting room space, programming, services for the blind, genealogical research assistance, databases for students, and so many other reliable sources of information. Colleagues of mine marvel at the Joint Use Library, and VBPL staff and their director, Eva Poole, are respected throughout the state and country for the services they are able to provide the people of Virginia Beach. One of the things I loved when the Navy brought my family here was the city's commitment to things like education, parks and recreation, and the library, all of these things that make up a community. Not every person in the community needs the library at every point in their lives, but every person in our community needs the library at some point. And so I thank you for supporting the library. It's an asset to Virginia Beach and to our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Max Ganano. Mr. Ganano, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds, and then George Bryant will be following.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wood, ladies and gentlemen of City Council, and Mr. Dehaney. My name is Max Ganano, and I am the president of the Virginia Beach Professional Firefighters. I come before you today to ask that you support Vice Mayor Wood's April 12th proposal. If the last 14 months has taught us anything, it is that your first responders are always on the front lines answering the call. Vice Mayor Wood's proposal recognizes this. This council has had successes managing issues with the compensation of public safety in recent years, and I urge you to continue that work. This council broadly agreed to give pay parity to the Sheriff's Department several years ago because you recognize the importance of treating public safety equally and fairly. Abandoning that concept now will have dire results on the morale, recruitment, and retention of the rest of public safety and will serve as a neon billboard to anyone considering employment in fire and EMS in the city of Virginia Beach to go somewhere else. Currently, our candidate pools are shrinking and firefighters and EMS are in fact resigning to take opportunities outside of the city. Their years of training and experience walk out the door with them. Vice Mayor Wood's proposal is a continuation and acknowledgement of council's previous work and adds future incentives for attracting and retaining the best employees, which is who the residents and visitors of this city deserve answering their emergencies. The goal isn't to pay someone just well enough not to resign, and we should not wait for a problem to grow to alarming levels before addressing it. High quality fire, EMS, and sheriffs are paid sufficiently for the position, skills necessary, and the serious risks they are faced with on a daily basis. You don't want just anyone searching for your loved ones in a building that is on fire or performing advanced life support medical skills on them. You and our residents want the best. Please pass Mr. Wood's proposal and demonstrate that hiring and retaining quality public safety is your highest priority. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Max.
The next speaker is George Bryant, and after Mr. Bryant is Basil Khalif. Mr. Bryant, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you. Bryant, I'm sorry, Basil Khalif, and then after Mr. Khalif will be Jacob Brown.
Hi, my name is Basil Califf. I am a Virginia Beach criminal defense attorney. I co-founded the law firm Westendorf and Califf. I used to work in the Virginia Beach Public Defender's Office. I'm here to talk about the issue of public defender pay parity. I presented on the issue back in, I believe it was January. So I don't want to rehash all the things I had said, but the main point is that the Virginia Beach Prosecutor's Office, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, gets a $6 million supplement from the city, and the Public Defender's Office gets $0 in supplement. So this creates a disparity between the two offices, and it creates a clear, what I would call an injustice, and it results in attorneys in the Public Defender's Office being, I guess, treated unfairly for one, and also the inability of the office to attract the best and the brightest talent and to even retain the best and the brightest talent. I've seen in the last 3 years a number of attorneys go from the Public Defender's Office over to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and they do it in large part because the pay is just not good enough to support a family, to pay student loans, to do things of that nature. So there's a massive difference in how the two offices are treated. We're sort of in an era where social justice is a massive issue. It's probably the second biggest issue after the COVID crisis. So the city can't, with a straight face, say that it cares about both sides of the scales of justice equally if it puts $6 million on one side and $0 on the other. I was fortunate enough to present to leaders from the Black, Brown, Latino community 2 days ago, and we received a lot of support from NAACP leaders. It was actually yesterday. NAACP leaders and leaders from various segments of the minority communities, including pastors and religious leaders, and they will be sending letters in support of this issue and sending many emails and making many phone calls to the council members to let them know how important it is. This is one of those rare issues that people can unite around. The head prosecutor in Virginia Beach, Colin Stolley, has been an excellent advocate for the cause. He recognizes it to be an important issue. He recognizes it as unjust that he has these wonderful resources for his office and the public defender's office doesn't share the same resources. So this is that rare issue where people can agree that it's not Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. This isn't defund police versus back the blue. This is that one issue involving social justice where both sides can come together and say, this is important, this should be funded, and it should be funded by the city. Virginia Beach is unique in that it's by far the biggest city in Virginia without a supplement for their public defenders. So this isn't a state problem. The state can't just give more money across the board to all offices and have it be okay. Virginia.
Very much. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jacob Brown, and after Mr. Brown is Andrew Conlon. Mr. Brown, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jake Brown, and I'm a proud member of the Virginia Beach Professional Firefighters, Local 2924. I grew up in Virginia Beach. I'm a product of Virginia Beach City Public Schools, made better by the Virginia Beach Fire Academy, TRFA Class 161. It's my honor to serve you and this city as a firefighter paramedic. I rise to speak today to support Vice Mayor Woods' budget proposal and ask that you all support this proposal as well. The current issues in the fire department are, by their very nature, both aggravating and fixable. Rest assured, none of my brothers and sisters take this matter lightly. This adjustment would go a long way in showing your fire and EMS employees, residents, and visitors that you continue to emphasize public safety as an important component of this city. In the past year, your fire and EMS departments have been requested to act above and beyond the call of duty, something which has become somewhat normal for our departments. In January of 2020, extra training opportunities became available outside of the city. Members like myself dipped into our own pockets to attend these training sessions to better serve our citizens. When the coronavirus pandemic hit our city, we spent countless hours reading and studying the CDC and Virginia Department of Health literature to ensure we could provide the highest quality care to our patients. When our own brothers and sisters began to test positive and go into quarantine, our staffing levels dropped. We worked overtime, some of us against our will, leaving our own families to care for the families of others. We responded to 911 calls, even with extreme shortages of appropriate personal protective equipment. When vaccines rolled out, our members staffed the mass vaccination clinics and did their part to get our city back to a sense of normalcy. We did all this while doing the routine things like entering burning structures to rescue civilians, venturing out into rough seas to assist vessels, and treating victims of violence at the ocean front while shots were still being fired. Through all of this, your fire department still was the only department to receive a 100% customer satisfaction rating. Now we come to you to ask that you recognize the work being put in. Retention of our firefighters remains an issue. It seems like every day I hear another person leaving our department for better opportunities. Since graduating from the Fire Academy, 6 of my classmates have made the decision to leave the VVFD. In the past 5 years, our resignations have kept pace with our retirements. 52 members have walked out the door. These are well-trained and experienced individuals who found something better. Vice Mayor Woods' proposal will lead to less firefighters feeling inclined to leave for greener pastures. In my opinion, if you have the power to fix this issue now, you shouldn't kick the can down the road. Public safety is as important to business owners, residents, and visitors of our city as anything else. They deserve to have a fairly compensated workforce responding to their emergencies. It's well known that when compared to other cities, the compensation is deficient for fire and EMS in Virginia Beach. Even now, I'm speaking to you from my house in Newport News because I cannot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Andrew Conlon, and after Mr. Conlon will be Diana Howard. Mr. Conlon, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Conlon. I'm a firefighter here in the city of Virginia Beach. I'm here today to support Vice Mayor Woods' proposal to increase pay for public safety. First, let me just say, I wanted to say thank you to City Council. In regard to training and equipment for the fire department, we actually are very lucky here. We are never hurting for equipment. We're never hurting for highly motivated individuals that want to go out and train. And that's not always the case across the country in a lot of fire departments. So that's something that we can definitely hang our hats on. One of the things, as I mentioned, is you have a fire department here in the city of Virginia Beach that is highly motivated. It's full of individuals that are showing up to work every day, ready to tackle any obstacle that you can put in front of them. I would argue just about anything you could put in front of us, we could go ahead and tackle. That was pretty evident in the past year. Obviously, it's already been mentioned, but really quickly, I'm not going to keep hammering the COVID point, but obviously the Virginia Beach Fire Department stepped up to the plate and we were handed something completely out of the ordinary. And it was simple for us. We said, all right, we need to figure this out. And while we did that, as it was mentioned, we also clocked in 100% satisfaction with our citizens here in Virginia Beach. So I don't know that we could do a whole lot better than 100% satisfaction. As it was starting to be mentioned previously by my colleague there, I think it's really important for a lot of us to live in the community that we serve. I think that's an important thing. A lot of times the cost of living can be a challenge just about anywhere in the country, but you know, a more competitive pay scale would absolutely allow more members to live in the communities that they serve, which is certainly important. My last point here real quick, you know, I don't want to knock anybody that loves those TV shows, the Chicago fires and the 911s and all those things, but unfortunately, I can tell you from firsthand experience, those are they're pretty terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you. The one thing that they all have in common is that the general public really would love to get a look behind the curtain of what goes on in the fire department in real life. Those shows don't do it justice at all, for the record. But what I'm offering you this evening is a moment to take a look behind the curtain. First responders don't ask for help. It's just not in our nature. The fact that you have as many of us coming forward to ask for your help tonight and through email and through all of our requests to support this motion, it should be taken as a sign of just how serious we take this. If you've got a pack of first responders that are stepping forward asking for help, it's significant. So thank you very much for your consideration, and thank you.
Everything you and your folks do. Thank you.
The next speaker is Diana Howard, and after Mrs. Howard will be Dr. Theron Williams. Ms. Howard, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Hi, my name's Diana Howard, and I'm the chair of the Virginia Beach Tea Party. And while we value our teachers and our staff who were denied a raise during last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we must remember that you all fared better than, the private sector did. None of you were furloughed. Even when you weren't performing your job or you were paid, you never lost a paycheck, even sheltered at home. Let's remember essential workers in the private sector were also on the front lines in healthcare, truck drivers bringing goods and services to our homes and grocery stores, cashiers, workers stocking shelves, disinfecting surfaces. They had to find childcare for their children that were forced to learn virtually, while 40% of Virginia's childcare services were closed during the pandemic. But the private sector, for the most part, was shut down. They were denied the ability to earn a living. Non-essential workers lost their jobs, their livelihoods. 1,193 businesses in Virginia Beach closed from last March to March of this year. Businesses that were allowed to be open in limited capacities were still struggling, taking out loans they may never be able to pay back, right? We think that the city should be downsizing the burden on the private sector until the economy is fully open and allowed to recover. What happened to we're all in this together, you need to do your part, pull together as a community. By not lowering the real estate tax more than 1 cent as proposed to make the increase in assessments revenue neutral as required by state code, you are raising our taxes to fund raises for public employees. How are you going to come up with $23 million? What are you going to cut? It seems heartless to us, So I would like you to do something for us in the private sector to make sure that we, who also have a cost of living raise, increase, that we also have to cut our budgets back to be able to afford the increases in hiring more people and paying more money and everything. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
The next speaker registered is Dr. Theron Williams. We do not see him on WebEx, so I'll move on to Tanya London. Ms. London, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, thank you.
Hello?
In your comments.
Yes, hello. My name is, hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Please begin your comments.
Good evening. Hello, Mayor Dyer and City Council. My name is Tanya London. Presently, I am a host for Airbnb, a short-term rental for people that vacation in Virginia Beach. I rent a room in my condominium. I have been classified as superhost because since June 2017, I have hosted 403 guests and have maintained a rating of 5.0 stars. Presently, there are not enough hotels to accommodate the large influx of vacationers during the summer months. Airbnb offers an affordable alternative to staying in a hotel. This in turn creates much needed revenue for Virginia Beach. This also creates an extra income source for tax-paying residents that live in Virginia Beach. I feel that by assessing an additional fee to Airbnb hosts, you're penalizing them. Thank you.
The next speaker is Carl Wright, who we do not see online either. Conrad Schisventer, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, thank you.
I didn't have a good day so far. I don't really know what it was. I sort of mentally had a drab and anguish through my morning 7 to 3 p.m. shift, so I had to compose myself. And I'm doing so now because I wanted to address you guys on the budget, and I'm glad I have this chance to. And I want to approach this similar to how Councilman Moss would. Work with the budget as if it would be neutral, and the 98.87 rate generates neutrality. Are there sudden wants to fund things like better pay for city employees? Sure, and I like the idea of it. Heck, I've been trying to become a city employee since 2013. It's attractive. This is my city. You want the best for it. However, this needs to be balanced against revenue sources. This is why I am big on grants from out of city and state and federal sources. But that's neither here nor there. So you guys can just decide to vote, and then boom, the real estate tax goes to 1.007. And real estate naturally is a more progressive tax. I don't own any real estate, so I don't pay it. I just want to be conscious of the comment, he who robs Peter to pay Paul can always count on the support of Paul. If I were Paul, would I be easily able to support a real estate tax increase? I don't know. I guess it would be easier if the real estate being taxes was rated more toward the area we spend so much trying to boost, the ocean front, than say property owners in Kimsville. But I'm speculating. Just like my conjecture last night on the 1.87 million of CARES Act funding, supported an 11-0 vote to buy cameras and ballistic software. See if that's easy to just move money around. That's when you allotted a boost in police pay. Granted, I wouldn't mind defunding some of the activities that they do, and that could be directed into their pay boost. It beats calling for a 7.4 million boost without chasing the source of the dollar. I have to give Councilman Moss more credence on that. Look, I hope you all double down on your focus of flooding solutions, better policing practices, and creating a CRB, stronger public transportation, and ways to work on more affordable housing. And don't bend over backwards to invest in tourism activities. Fund the basics properly. You might not need tax increases to necessarily do all that. And thank you.
Conrad.
The next speaker is William Beavers, and after Mr. Beavers is Elaine Feckety. Mr. Beavers, if you would just pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Hi, this is William Beavers, 16th Street at the oceanfront. I just wanted to speak today about the budget proposal on short-term rentals. I think after the COVID exercise that we've all gone through, that the resort area and the tourism industry as a whole has been hit rather hard. And then to increase the burden financially on short-term rental operators while we're trying to, get our feet back under us, is somewhat arbitrary. I'm not for the $200 annual fee. We're already paying a fee. I feel as though that the fee to pay for inspectors is a burden on those of us that are doing the right thing in the city, that don't have complaints on our properties. We're already registered, but yet now we by doing the right thing, have to pay a fee to the city to hire inspectors to go and inspect those that are not doing the right thing. So I don't think, increasing the burden on those of us that are doing good to pay for those that are not is just. So in short, I'm firmly against the $200 fee on short-term rental operators. And I would strongly urge the council to consider the burden that will place on those of us that are doing the right thing and have been for years. Thank you so much for your time.
Great the input. Thank you.
The next speaker is Elaine Feckety, and after Ms. Feckety is Draper Paget. Ms. Feckety, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Elaine Feckety, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. While there's much to discuss in the budget, the one item I would walk on hot coals to talk to you about is the proposed short-term rental $200 zoning fee. If you only listen to one sentence from me tonight, let it be this one. You are proposing to charge a $200 annual zoning fee to every short-term rental owner that is renting responsibly, registering with the city, paying taxes, and complying with Ordinance 241.2, and here's the good part, to monitor the short-term rentals that are not renting responsibly, not registering with the city, not paying the taxes, and are not paying this fee. That's like charging every registered gun owner in the city a yearly fee to find every unregistered gun owner, and this is America. The fee is intended to cover, from what I understand, basically 3 initiatives: third-party host compliance software, a new call center, and 2 full-time employees. Are you aware that there are other less expensive but more effective software solutions than the host compliance software you are using, and the other cities are in the process of switching to those now? Let's do some shopping. Regarding the new call center, some of you have said, well, people don't know to call 311. And yet last year, 88,270 citizens did call 311. And if they each called only once, that's over 50% of the households in the city. And of that, only 14 of those calls were regarding short-term rentals. And of those 14, only 4 were legitimate complaints for things such as noise and trash. So you want to pay to add another call center to take 14 calls and expect people who didn't know to call 311 to now know to call 347. If you have new software and you have a new call center, what exactly will the 2 new full-time employees be doing? Bed checks is my guess. You have repeatedly stated that our homes are not to be used as businesses, and yet you're not missing a single opportunity to add a business fee or tax to it. Short-term rentals generate tens of millions of dollars at absolutely no cost to you. You're adding deck inspections, you're adding extending the nightly lodging tax that goes to the oceanfront. The state has raised the sales tax on lodging another percentage point, which makes the total taxes we pay and generate 16.5%, which is more than some of us even profit. Surely you can find revenue, use the revenue that we generate to find more efficient software and additional personnel. I hope so, because enough is enough, and I will not be paying this tax. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine.
The next speaker is Draper Padgett, and after Mr. Padgett, it'll be Morgan Brooke Devlin. Mr. Padgett, if you'd pause 2 to 3 seconds.
Good evening, city leadership. My name is Draper Padgett. I'm a firefighter and paramedic stationed at Company 11 down at the oceanfront. I know this has been a trying year for everyone, and there's certainly not many areas of our city the pandemic hasn't changed. Everybody has new challenges they face with their jobs, and people are finding themselves working from home with things like the double duty of caring for young children, lots of teleconferencing, and endless disinfecting and sanitizing of their workspace. Our job as first responders, as you can imagine, has changed greatly as well. And I know you all have seen the statistics on the resignations and the retirements and taken the time to read the emails. And I know over the past few weeks, especially, you've heard from many of us. If I may, I'd like to add some perspective as to why this is happening. There may be some misconceptions, of course, as to why somebody would choose a career in fire, police, or EMS, but I'll tell you the primary reason is we're here is the drive we have to be of service to another person in their darkest hours. And being that man or woman certainly benefits us as well, in that it gives us a job satisfaction that you simply cannot recreate in any other career. But there is an increasing cost, both mentally and physically, to this lifestyle. This time last year, the experts were warning us of the types of calls we would see increasing as people were becoming unemployed and isolated. Of course, we still have the responsibility, just like Jake mentioned earlier, of pulling people out of burning buildings or disentangling them from the wreckage of a car accident. But unfortunately and inevitably, we found ourselves more and more often on the scene of overdoses, domestic violence, suicides, and the list goes on. And even your more routine calls, like going to a patient with simple shortness of breath, breathing difficulty, can weigh heavily on you afterward. After the call, when you're doffing your protective gown, your gloves, your iPro, your N95, and you're doing your best to decontaminate yourself and your equipment, you get back to the station, you're showering and laundering your uniform right away, and all the while you're praying that you're doing a good enough job not to bring the virus back to your home and expose your spouse or little children. This year has been an education for many of us. Your first responders have been at the front line of everything from the mass vaccination clinics to protests. So we're asking for your support, of course, of Vice Mayor Wood's budget proposal for first responders in its entirety. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll all keep us in mind.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Morgan Brooke Devlin, and then Deborah Jones. Morgan, if you would pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, thank you.
Hello. name is Morgan Brooke Devlin. Am I being heard?
If we can hear you, just please stop muting you're muting yourself when we need to unmute you. So you're unmuted. Go ahead and proceed with your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said, my name is Morgan Brooke Devlin. I'm a resident of 88th Street in the North End. First of all, I would like to reiterate comments made previously to other panels that I and the vast majority of my neighbors in the North End, 88th, 89th, etc., are vehemently against the overlay and the short-term rental proposals. We are not just houses there. Our properties are more than just houses. There are homes and our community. We're stakeholders in the future of the North End. We ask that the court not sacrifice us and our unique and beloved community to benefit these people that want to turn it into just another resort area. We shouldn't be considered a resort area. We feel strongly that what the city is proposing is somewhat of an illegal taking of the property of existing tax-paying property owners to benefit often non-residential owners who'll be operating disruptive commercial enterprises in our peaceful neighborhoods. What the city is proposing is in effect a change to the historic residential North End to a commercial area similar to the hotels lining the boardwalk. This will result in a permanent and vastly diminished quality of life for the residents of the North End, including but not limited to greatly increased parking demands, noise, loud, and peace-destroying party houses, and constant turnaround of renters and their guests. I've been listening to the comments made by the parties that are objecting to the $200 a year fee on short-term rentals. I would note that most of these people charge more than $200 a night. And to charge them $200 so that in some minor way, there should be some protection against people renting party houses and disruptive behavior is ridiculous. As this other lady testified, she has rented a bedroom in her house 403 times. We're not talking about now and then. We're talking about over and over and over. On my street, 4 new houses are going up. Each has 5 bedrooms. There is not going to be enough parking. Each of my neighbors, we all have about 2 parking spaces. There's nothing to keep these people who are coming to these houses, 5 bedrooms, all the people that are allowed under your proposals. Where are they all going to park? Where's their trash going to go? And the 311 is fine, but my experience is when you say you're going to call, the people stop whatever they're doing temporarily and it starts again. The violence that we've seen occurring and the disruptive behavior in these party houses, not to mention people just coming and going.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Deborah Jones, and after Ms. Jones will be Daphne Stagg. Ms. Jones, if you pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Jones. I'm a member of the Professional Firefighter Union. I've been a Virginia Beach firefighter for the past 20 years. I believe we get what we pay for. In the past 5 years, 52 people have left for other departments and 59 people have resigned. That's approximately 111 people have left this department for one reason or another. With that being said, the morale of the department is down for one reason or another. The people who are leaving, not due to retirement, are trying to tell us something. What are they trying to tell us something? I don't know what that is, but they're trying to tell us something by leaving. We need to listen. Our experience is leaving out the door. They're going to other departments. We're hiring and we're paying these people. We're training them and they're leaving for other departments. Our morale is down. We went without a raise last year, and other localities and professionals still did receive theirs. The retention of experienced employees still remain an issue. And excuse me, I apologize. And the quality workforce is not just paid well enough, just not to quit, is a paid competitive for the position. Skills are necessary and the risk is faced. So primarily what I'm saying is that we need to fix this. Our people are leaving and they're trying to tell us. And if we don't fix this, we're going to have more people who are quitting. We need to stop hiring people and paying them, training them just for them to quit, because we will continue to get what we pay for. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Daphne Stagg, and after Ms. Stagg will be Paula Chang. Ms. Stagg, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you. I'll go to Paula Chang. Not online. Paige Mieres. Ms. Mieres, if you'll pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for your time. I'm here to express my concern with the proposed $200 zoning tax on vacation homes. This tax seems to be proposed at an inopportune time with the tourism industry still trying to recover from the 2020 global pandemic. In this time, is this the time to raise the cost of a vacation to Virginia Beach? The state has already raised the cost of a Virginia Beach vacation by adding a percentage point to the cost of a stay for the Hampton Roads Regional Transit Fund. The question becomes, on a local level, are we a city who welcomes our guests, or are we a city who continues to price visitors out of our market at a time when tourism revenues and tourism businesses are struggling to the point of closure? The reality of the last year is that visitors to Virginia Beach want to stay in our homes. That is currently resonating with guests. Why make any move to discourage people from coming here and spending their money in our city? Why push them to the Outer Banks or Myrtle Beach? In addition to the unwelcoming nature of this tax, there is nothing in writing to support the expense side for this tax revenue. Only verbal ideas that have been passed around word of mouth. What we've understood, again, word of mouth, is that the city wants to hire more enforcement personnel, maybe 2, maybe 4. How much does the city plan on paying these people? From the estimates from the money the city plans to collect for these fees, the enforcement personnel look to be very highly compensated. Also, there's no concrete explanation as to what these people will do or have the authority to do. What will these inspections look like? Is the city going to be forcing their way into our homes? The city receives millions of dollars a year from vacation rentals to the tune of 8% of the gross stay and $2 a day. I'm not opposed to enforcement that cures real problems, but there are zoning enforcement opportunities all over the city, and yet the city is reducing the real estate tax rate and raising this fee to come after vacation stays. Is there not some injustice in taxing all the good actors in this industry in order to find the ones who aren't even going to pay this fee? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paige. Have a good evening.
The next speaker is Matthew Schweiner. After Mr. Schweiner will be Vincent Smith. Mr. Schweiner, if you'd pause 2 to 3 seconds, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Matthew Swaner. I'm a Virginia Beach firefighter assigned to Company 10 in the Woodstock area. It is probably difficult for any of us to truly understand the breadth of our respective positions in this city. And that said, I wanted to speak to personally express that I trust that City Council is always working diligently to provide an excellent service. And I wanted to let you know that we are also working incredibly hard to provide an excellent service to our city and its citizens. Ironically, I think the pandemic has brought us closer to our neighbors, as conversely as it may seem, with the mask and social distancing because we've all made sacrifices, overextended ourselves, and have been forced to adjust to this present and future moment. And that struggle has brought us closer together. The Virginia Beach Fire Department has not only operated at 100% since the inception of the pandemic in our city, we have taken on more. Our providers, our brothers and sisters have always taken pride in over-promising and over-delivering. Since the beginning, the Virginia Beach Fire Department has continued its quick response. And when there were more questions than answers, we continued to respond to those emergency calls. We did not shy away from providing excellent care and treatment to people. We continue to walk into homes wearing gowns, wearing masks, wearing face shields, gloves. We did not allow anything to create a barrier between us, the fire department, and the citizens. We arrived on scene of multi-vehicle accidents and managed to remember an N95 along with our traffic vest, our tools, our medical equipment, our traffic cones. Thousands and thousands of incidents, assisting the elderly who have fallen and cannot stand on their own, children who have been accidentally locked in mom's car, entire apartment complexes on fire. We've managed, but we've managed under great tax, under great duress, under stress. And with great sincerity, our fire department is motivated. Our entire fire department cares. This motivation and this passion, this level of professionalism, it came at a great cost. We've exhausted ourselves. We've all lived sleepless nights on and off duty, isolated ourselves from our friends and family, all the while serving the city with a smile. And the battle has taken its toll. Our job associated risks are outweighing the reward, and we're too proud to ask for help. What the Virginia Beach Fire Department truly needs in this current climate from City Council is support. I appreciate being heard tonight, and I'm asking for City Council to consider Vice Mayor Wood's proposal in its entirety. Thank you, and everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Vincent Smith, and after Mr. Smith is Derek Deggs. Mr. Smith, if you'd pause 2 to 3 seconds.
Good evening, Council. I come to you tonight to speak about the short-term rental fee proposal increase. Short-term rentals are really the grown-up equivalent of a child sidewalk lemonade stand. These are perhaps the smallest of small businesses in our communities. And I think we need to encourage the small business recovery from the hardships we've all experienced over the past year, just as much as we try to encourage the recovery of larger businesses. If you do, however, elect to impose this fee, it would only be fair to only impose the fee on active rental properties. Not all short-term rental properties actually rent on a short-term basis in any given year. Some instead elect to place long-term tenants or are owner-occupied. I think Virginia Beach does an excellent job at promoting business. I think we should continue that, but perhaps we should not just forgive the Cavaliers' violation of a public-private agreement and instead use that fine to cover these proposed costs. If we're going to support all businesses, let's support the businesses that are following the rules. On another note, I'd like to speak with a caveat in support of Vice Mayor Wood's proposed budget for the salary increases for the first responders. I can get on board with that if it is imposed in a way that its implementation absolutely ensures not one instance of compression is created. Compression creates vacancies, and we don't want to add these funds to their payroll just to create the same number of equivalent vacancies and have the same problem come out the other side of that. I think it's obvious from the issues we've seen go on in the city in the last months that we do need to address this issue. Chief Newdigate's proposal that we are only 100 officers short or 100 first responders short on paper, that we actually need far more than that. In addition to the vacancies that we hear about tonight in fire and EMS, I believe these do need to be addressed, and this may be the way to do it as long as we don't create compression. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you all have a good evening.
Have a good evening, Vinny. Thank you.
The next speaker is Derek Deggs. And after Mr. Deggs, I'll go back and recall the speakers that weren't on originally. Mr.
Okay,
Deggs, if you
great.
pause 2 to 3 seconds. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and members of City Council, thank you for your time. I'm a Virginia Beach native, resident, and firefighter paramedic with the Virginia Beach Fire Department. I am asking for your support for Vice Mayor Wood's proposal for a 5.5% structural raise for public safety. Public safety has stepped up to support the city through a very difficult year. Virginia Beach firefighters postponed a planned 3% raise last year to ensure the city could make ends meet. We have continued to provide excellent customer service in our primary roles of fire suppression and EMS care. We met the city's increased needs for COVID masks and PPE supply and logistics. We have been integral to the city-run vaccination program. We have been upstaffed for our rural fire stations to provide increased protection during the needed Pungo Ferry Bridge upgrades. We're in the middle of our accreditation process, which, among other things, reduces insurance liability for our citizens. This proposal is a much-needed adjustment to recruit and retain the top-level public safety officers that Virginia Beach has always boasted. Thank you for your time, consideration, and support.
Thank you.
Sonia Robinson, we still do not see online. George Bryant, Mr. Bryant, I see that you're online now. If you would pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning your comments, thank you.
Mayor Dyer, members of the council, Mr. Dehaney. My name is George Bryant, and I've lived in Wolf Snare Plantation for 53 years. I urge you to follow the city manager's proposed budget that I believe takes into account not only the needs of the city, but also protects the taxpayer to a small degree with a slight decrease in the real estate tax rate. There are still some tough times. Average taxpayers' budgets are pushed to the limits. Private sector raises are not keeping up. Retirees get little to no safe interest on savings. The city's needs grow at a pace faster than the revenue growth can sustain. I believe Mr. Dehaney has taken all of this into consideration. The only problem may be the need of the police department to improve its ability to fill vacancies, making it possible to control the disturbances at the ocean front while maintaining law and order across the city. The police problems were outlined by the chief recently with data. He made a good case for additional raises above those in the proposed budget. With careful management, the money for additional police raises, about $7.4 million, can be found in the proposed $2.2 billion budget. That's less than 4% of the budget, or less than 0.4% of the budget. There's always fat that can be cut, or in this case, reallocated to a pressing need. The list of more than a dozen additional funding requests submitted by the council and staff after the proposed budget was completed should not be acted on at this time. That list included additional across-the-board raises of up to 5.5% for nearly all employees over and above the police department. Those raises would cost nearly $23 million, necessitating a real estate tax increase of about 4 cents per hundred. There's no data supporting such increases. The manager has already included a 3% raises for those employees. Mr. Dehaney's budget preserves existing programs and services while enhancing investments in your critical focus areas. You should adopt his recommendation with a reallocation of money for the police and for the police department. While the pandemic did not hit city revenues as hard as expected a year ago, many businesses and employees are still impacted financially and otherwise from it. You should not make this worse by raising their taxes. Your job is not only to provide for the city's needs, but to make Virginia Beach an affordable and attractive place for its citizens to call home. And I emphasize affordable.
Sir, appreciate it.
Dr. Theron Williams, we still do not see online. Okay. Daphne Stagg, we still also do not see online. Paula Chang, no. It's not online either. And then Carl Wright. We do not see online. So Mayor, that is all the speakers.
Okay, I would like to thank everybody that participated, and I'd like to thank all the council members for participating in this too and listening to the words and wisdom of the citizens. We stand adjourned.